an exciting and competitive game based on the construction industry. This game closely parallels real-life contracting. There are 6 jobs to build: dam, highway, tunnel, bridge, high-rise, and power line. Players bid on the jobs, and the low bidder is awarded the job at his bid price. Each job consists of 10 phases. Each time a player completes a phase, he is paid 1/10 of his bid price. So when he completes his job, he will have received 100% of the bid price. There are many risky decisions to make and pitfalls to avoid on the way to being the most successful contractor who makes the most money and wins. Let's begin. $150,000 is given out to each player. Players then shake the dice, and the player with high dice takes the first equipment card off the stack, and then each player clockwise takes a card until they are all dealt out. This has already been done in this video, and with 4 players, each player receives 4 equipment cards. Players now bid on the jobs. In the rules, you don't have to read the whole section on bidding. You just read what pertains to the number of players present. So with 4 players, each player secretly writes down the bids for the first 3 jobs: dam, highway, and tunnel. Bids can even be done on your phone. Bids are exposed, and the dam is awarded to the low bidder. Then the highway is awarded to the low bidder, but not to the player who is awarded the dam, even if his bid is lowest. Then a tunnel is awarded to the low bidder, but not to either of the players who were awarded the dam or the highway. The 4th player, who doesn't yet have a job, is awarded the bridge at cost. Each player will now have 1 job. Now all 4 players write down bids for the high rise and the power line. Bids are exposed and the low bidder is awarded the high rise. Then the power line is awarded to the low bidder, but not to the player who awarded the high rise, who was awarded the high rise. 2 players will have 1 job each, and 2 players will have 2 jobs each. On the bottom of the bid sheet, it says bid prices should be higher than the cost of the job, but must be lower than $600,000. Bid prices must have at least 4 zeros on the end of them. Example, 500,000 or 460,000, not 479, 199. The red and blue players each have 2 jobs. So the banker has added the price of the 2 jobs together to make it simple to pay when phases are completed. Players now buy the equipment they want and return the rest to the bank. They pay the purchase price to the bank. In this case, the yellow player will buy the dozer and the packer, and he will return the cement and the rock drill back to the bank. And the blue player will buy the loader and the low bed, and he will return the scraper and the crane back to the bank. So the player who originally shook high dice now shakes the dice and moves around the board. When a player lands on a workday space, he draws a card and either pays or receives money. He then may work on 1 phase of his job or jobs by paying for the equipment required on that job. If he owns the equipment, he doesn't have to pay for it. If another player owns it, he pays the other player. If the bank owns it, he pays the bank. In this case, the yellow player landed on a work day and he's working on the first phase of his job, and he owns the dozer. So he only has to pay $5,000 for the low bed. So he takes $5,000, he gives it to the owner of the low bed, which is the blue player. After completing a phase, the banker will pay him 1/10 of his bid price. His bid price is $450,000, so he will receive $45,000. And then the job progress marker needs to be put on phase 1 to show that he's completed that. Any time on his turn, he may buy one piece of equipment from the bank. After his turn, play continues clockwise. Players collect rent when another player working on a job needs their equipment. This type of rent is never doubled or tripled. Players also can collect rent when another player lands on their equipment, and if they ask for rent before the next player shakes. And when a player completes the fourth phase, they can collect double rent when a player lands on their equipment. And after they complete the seventh phase, they can collect triple rent. But again, the contractor work schedule rentals are never doubled or tripled. So selling equipment. At any time, equipment may be sold back to the bank for half price or sold or traded with another player for a negotiated price. Money may be included in a trade. Weather spaces. When you land on a weather space, you may draw a weather card, or you must draw a weather card. Before reading the card, you must decide whether you will apply it yourself or give it to another player who must follow its instructions. Card is then returned to the bottom of the pile. The warranty fund starts out with $10,000 each time and receives money each time players land on a space or draw a card that directs money to the fund. The player landing on the warranty fund space collects the money. Loans. When you owe money, you must immediately pay the money before you work or buy equipment. If you do not have enough money to pay what you owe, you must raise the money as follows. You may sell some of your equipment, or you must obtain a $50,000 loan from the bank. The player then writes one loan on the bid sheet by your job. At the end of the game, you pay the bank $100,000 for each $50,000 loan you receive. You may only obtain a loan when you do not have enough cash to pay what you owe. You may not obtain loans to pay for working or to buy equipment. You may not borrow money from another player. Winning the game. To complete your 10th phase, you must land on a work day after rolling a 2, a 3, a 4, or 5, or a 6 with your throw of the dice. If you roll a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12 and land on a workday space after you've completed your 9th phase, you do not draw a workday card and you may not work on your 10th phase. The first player to complete all 10 phases on all his jobs receives a $50,000 bonus from the bank. Play then stops and the other players pay to the bank all the equipment costs on the uncompleted phases of their jobs, except for the equipment they own. They receive no payment for uncompleted phases. All players then sell their equipment back to the bank for half price. Loans are repaid at $100,000 for each loan and money is added up. The contractor who made the most money wins.